Becky. I'm glad you're back. It's so good to see you. You are a masterpiece. It's true. There's no denying it. That's who you are. Well, today we're going to hear from an artist named Kim. She enjoys creating art of various types. One method she uses is called Encaustic, and you'll hear more about what that is today. And I hope you enjoy hearing her story as well. It's an inspirational one. Enjoy! Well, today I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine. Her name is Kim. She is an artist. So, hi Kim, glad you're here with us today.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. So I would like to ask a few questions, and the first one is, what kind of art do you enjoy doing?
That's a hard one. Thank you for inviting me, Becky, to be a part of this. This is my first interview, so if I act kind of super excited about this, you'll understand, because this is my first time, and this is wonderful and exciting. It isn't so much the type of art, it is the process of expressing and doing my art. I love to do something with my hands. When I was a kid, I'd play in the mud. You know, it's something that's just evolved because I like to do something with my hands. It's also something that I was successful at, and I didn't get criticized, or I could make something beautiful and I didn't get judged. It was something that I could be kind of successful at without feeling like I had to, I was just lost. It gave me a sense of that, oh, well, this is easy. I can make something, and I'll make this. I'll take mud and I'll make a sandcastle, or I'll take, flowers and I'll make an arrangement, or I will take paint and I'll paint a picture, or I'll, make a sculpture with my hands or something. So I wasn't judged on it. It was something I was successful at, because being a kid and then being someone who's kind of unfocused and all over the place, it's more about the process. Now, currently, my artwork, the majority of the body of my artwork is about layered paper and fiber collage. I have been a painter for many years. I enjoy painting and drawing. But I wanted something. It was almost like when I got to finish my painting, whether it was acrylic or oil or pastel drawings or whatever I was doing, it almost felt like when I put the varnish on or sealed things and put it in a frame, it was almost like there was a barrier that it was like I couldn't cross that barrier to touch that image. And I wanted more feeling in my art, more not just an emotional feeling, but I wanted a feeling of having a sense of kind of textural surface, something that people could maybe be surprised at what it is, and then when they step back and look at it, they don't realize, oh, that's not a painting. Wait a minute, what? That's material, or it's eggshells, or it's glass, or it's wire, or it is gauze. So here, let me turn this a second. I don't know if this will work, but on this side of my studio, you'll see one of the pieces that I've gotten done. I've gotten an iris over there, and I don't know if you can see it all. And then one of my triptychs with trees and such. And then up there on, let me do this. On this, Let me see if I can go. Whoop. I am doing a piece that is, again, a three-dimensional piece coming out. I want it more looking three-dimensional, even though it's not. It's a 2D piece. And then up, I've got a piece up here that actually has more three-dimensional. Let's see where I'm going here. Can you see these three-dimensional items in it?
Wow.
So that's a couple of things. Then if you swing back this way, this is what I was working on.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and this is I think it's 36 by 48 inch. And it's all paper and fiber. I don't know if I can get up to
the texture. It's beautiful.
you can see the texture. Yep. And then if you want to talk about, getting into art and figuring out what I want to do and what type of art, I'm always expanding my ideas. And so my drawing and my painting kind of expanded into what you saw with my collages and my paper. Well, then I started experimenting with my paper. Let's go over here. And they're called ECO printing. And this is where I take the actual plant material and I make prints from it onto the paper. I cook it, and then I'm actually drawing and such on it. And from there, I take the paper and I mount it to 4-inch tiles from Menards, and then I put resin on them. So now I've got tiles with my paper on them. And also, I'm taking and making other types of, this is copy paper. I've actually made a monoprint on a monotype on a jelly plate. I don't know if you know what those are. And then it's got alcohol ink, and it has, what else do I have on this? Just alcohol ink so far. And then I'm going to dip it in wax, and then I'm going to cut it, and then I mount it on more tiles, and I make more tiles with the resin on it. So I'm having fun with that. Now, if you don't know what encaustic is, this is a piece of encaustic that I'm working on right now. You've been to my studio before. I don't know how much you've seen in my studio, but pictures really don't do. When people look at the pictures and then they actually see my artwork in person, they kind of go, oh, this is way different. I know your pictures are beautiful, but the textural quality and the feel of your art is so different when you see it in person. But my art kind of has morphed from painting, simple drawings, to expanding, like I said, out to find other ways that I can expand it. I didn't realize when I got into encaustic, and let me explain what encaustic is. Encaustic is an old art. It's from a Greek word. Encaustic means to burn. It's wax. It means to burn. So you heat up the wax, and there's a whole process, and you have to be safe. And you get to play with torches. It's so cool, fire and stuff. But anyway, I didn't know that my acrylic and all my acrylic stuff wasn't really compatible, so they say. Just wait, because I've got ideas to straighten that out. But I thought it was another opportunity for me to then take encaustic papers and again mount them onto boards and create, again, expanding my ideas with my collage, expanding what I do, and kind of giving, what can I, a simple sheet of paper becomes so many different things for different people, to create with, from simple drawings to ripping and tearing and shredding and gluing to three-dimensional items. I mean, so for me, it isn't really like, okay, I'm strictly a acrylic painter. It's more about the process of creating and making the art and my self-expression of why I make the art. Now, why I make it?
Yeah, we'd love to hear that.
I can't give you, it's like, I don't know why everyone doesn't make art. It's like such a natural, again, I think I became connected with the arts because I'm a very strong visual person. Although I need to hear and I need to read, and then I write things and I listen. But to me, visually, once I can see it, I can kind of like deconstruct it in my brain, and then figure out how they did that. And then I can find ways to twist it and turn it and get excited about it.
Yeah.
I can't give you an answer as to why I do my art. It is such an ingrained part of me that it just comes out whenever I try to do something. How can my brain is wired to work that way, I guess is what I tell people. It functions because I can't stay focused on specific things for like, mathematical equations and stuff. I can do all that. I'm not interested in it. But if I could take that and expand it and change it and twist it, that's what I would love to do. So being an artist isn't something that I really felt I could do. Being ADD, I didn't think I could even teach art because of my ADD, but it's given me an opportunity. The way I learn my art is some environment that I wasn't judged in. Okay, Kim, you didn't write the sentence right. You need to correct it. Or you didn't do the math problems right. You need to correct it. Oh, Kim, play your clarinet. You need to practice. It was something that I could do, and I could figure out a lot of things just from expressing myself within my art. I learned more about math because I could visually, and I could actually take something apart and say, oh, here's a whole, here's a half, here's 3/4. I learned more measurements because of being visual. And again, that art gave me a success. I felt like I could accomplish things. But I was also given the message in my generation growing up that I could not become an artist. It wasn't something that, everybody said, well, you're going to have to get a real job. You're going to have to, what could you do? You could always teach, go to college, become a teacher, or don't go to college, just whatever. But I wasn't encouraged to be an artist. There were no artists in my family. However, my father was an amazing artist. Not in his generation did they talk a lot about art or how to be an artist, but my father could see design and he could see color. He understood, how to do things that, that he felt in his generation it wasn't considered artistic, but it was very artistic as far as I'm concerned. But art is a very passionate thing that's a part of me that I don't know where it comes from. It's just inside of me. I think I would create art no matter what. I think I would have a hard time not doing art. And it's just part of who I am and part of what I do.
It's beautiful to hear about. So as you were sharing and you were describing, like you felt like, I guess there was freedom in art is kind of what you were expressing. Is that part
and
of
success?
Exactly.
I wasn't criticized. Yeah.
Is that part of the reason you choose to teach art? Because
I chose to teach art because I was, not because I chose it, but because my mother told me. I went to an art show. There's two stories here. I went to an art show at the senior center, and I was just looking at what the seniors at the local senior center were doing in art. And one lady walked up to me and she says, and she looked, and I was looking at a painting and stuff, and she said, well, don't you wish you could do that? And I said, oh, I can do that. She said, oh, good, you can come teach us. And I said, well, I'm not a teacher. And she said, we don't care. We need somebody. You can come teach us. So I actually taught at the senior center for 2 years.
Wow.
And then my mother was going through a really rough time in her life. Things were changing and out of her control. And so she came to me and she said, you're going to teach me to paint. And then she dragged several of her friends. She didn't ask them. She said, you're coming with me. We're going to Kimmy's and we're going to paint. So that was 20 years ago. And then in the meantime, I have, of course, had a lot of schooling, a lot of education. And then I got a job. Unbelievable, but I got a job at the Detroit Institute of Arts. And I got the job because of my portfolio, my drawing, my skills and such. And I was there for 7 years. And it was a weekend type job where I worked in the studio. And one of the most amazing things was working with educated teachers from all over the local Detroit area that shared skills and ideas about teaching and how to, and then of course I've taken classes and workshops, and it's like, I think the more that I had to learn different ways. So I had to learn to draw, not but just by seeing, but also by hearing, and also by talking, and also by, looking and comparison and relationships and understanding the theory and such. And I think that that's what's really pushed me past worrying about being ADD and sharing just the skills and knowledge that I've learned. And that has been a gift to me. Is so surprising that people have really valued coming to my classes and taking workshops and understanding that I can help them in their way and not change them. I don't want you to paint like me. I don't want you to draw like me. I want you to develop your own skills and also have the attitude that I can do this. I can be successful at this. There's no good, bad. There's no right or wrong. This is about me expressing myself and how to get that out there. And for people that are inexperienced, they're going to look at their art and they're going to go, ugh, that's not real good. And it's like, no, stop. It's like building a house. You want to put on the shutters and plant flowers, and you haven't even dug the foundation. You haven't put a stone in, you haven't gotten the mud, you haven't mixed it up, you haven't gotten the guts. You need to build things. And it's, you build a drawing, you build a painting, you build a sculpture, you build a photograph, you build your concepts, your ideas. And that's where thinking differently and working with the people at the museum and understanding about, the process of teaching and not teaching to teach and tell, but teaching to share ideas and how to inform people so that they can get their own ideas and their own concepts and what they want to express out. So from having my mother tell me that I was teaching her, and then the lady at the senior center tell me that I was going to teach them, and then working at the museum with amazing teachers that just shared anything and everything, that in taking, again, workshops and more classes, it's just opened up a world. I just, and also the quality of art that you see at our museum in Detroit is world renowned. It's top notch. If you've not gone and walked through the museum and just experienced, one little part of it, I think there's over like 5,000 pieces of art out at a time. And it's a wonderful experience because seeing other people create what they've made, how they, and then trying to figure out how did they do that? Or going into the contemporary thing and looking at people's reaction when they look at like some work that's just like color blocks, and they'll go, I can do that. And it's like, yeah, I bet you could. Now you try it, and let's, think about it and get inspired and push yourself past. And I know sometimes people make fun, but art is, they've had wars over art. Aesthetics plays a huge part when people live in a trashed area and they live in poor, and it's just unkept. And yet when you build parks and you have aesthetics and trees and gardens and outdoor public art, what a difference the feeling makes to the communities and societies. So how can you not be an artist in today's world?
Right.
It's an amazing opportunity, but I'm just one artist that likes to express, and I like to express hope and possibilities. We've all had struggles. Things are very difficult. I don't need to shock people. What I need to do is make people think on a different in a different way and on a different level. I want to communicate silently and visually through my art so that it touches them emotionally and it touches them in ways that maybe even expands their creativity and is, a pleasure and a joy for them.
That's beautifully put. And I love how you're talking about, like, you want to make basically the world a better place through your art and help people, encourage people to do the same. So right now, like during this time, here we are in 2020, and our world's gone through some hard stuff and is still going through some hard stuff. So how has your art and creative process been affected due to all of this right now?
Well, I'm thankful that my studio, which is actually my 2-car garage that I've never parked a car in. It is a 20 by 20 room. It's not real big, but it's my studio, and I can shut the door. But I have a place to create, so I don't have to pull it all out and make a mess and then do it. So I'm always in my studio every day, whether I feel it, because there are days I don't feel very creative. There are days that I have to be careful. Depression is very easy. And so I make myself come in. I try to do something, whether it's cleaning up, whether it is just organizing, getting new things out, thinking about concepts. That's part of why people fail in their artwork I feel, is that they have a little bit of an idea, but they don't know where to go with it. So really thinking a concept a little bit more thorough, especially if you're a new person to art and a beginner, is very important. If I have a concept and an idea and I get passionate about where I'm going with my art, then my ideas result in way better kind of completions. But this downtime has really affected me in the sense that it's like I'm kind of going in circles a little bit. I'm used to working by myself. I'm used to being in my studio by myself. I'm used to being alone a lot and making the art, but I've never had a restriction that said I couldn't go places or I was unsafe going places. So that put another spin on it. I hated to feel like people were dying. People, I have family members that have gotten ill, have recovered. Thank you, Lord, have recovered. I'm very fortunate and blessed that my own immediate family has been safe. Everybody has been safe. Some disappointments in not being able to gather with friends, and being out and about, even if it's limited for me, is still inspiring. Walking and seeing things and even conversations that people have. I think it's just the sadness of the isolation that's new. I'm not usually sad being isolated, but yeah, it's hard. So lately, I have really pushed myself and gotten into trouble because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 layered paper, 6 layered paper and fiber collages started.
Wow.
I've got three Encaustics started. I started staining more paper for some more work because I needed some more colors in my paper, and that's a whole process that you'll have to come over to the studio and do with me one day. That's fun to do. Just play with paper. And I've also started an encaustic collage, and I will share that with you. I've just made the plate for it. It goes through a printing press, and I was working on that yesterday. So, and then what else am I doing? Oh, I'm doing getting more. I showed you the papers. I'm getting ready to make some more tiles.
Wow.
So I've gone a little bit, the last couple of weeks, I've gone a little bit crazy and kind of, and I'm good about finishing things. Surprisingly, I want finishing things. So I've got a lot going on right now that I need to finish up. And let's see, 4 of my layered paper and fiber collages are at least 48 inches long or tall and 36 inches wide. Those are huge work. Those are big works. So it's like, it takes a lot of paper to cover them. So, and it takes me a lot of time to do that.
Yeah.
But I'll get there. So I'm starting to feel better. We're all getting out a little bit more, even though we're not through this yet. We still have a ways to go. I've been watching YouTube videos of other artists during this time and trying to become inspired and staying positive and being productive. I have gained weight. I have ate a little much on here, and I haven't been doing my exercises as much, but it has impacted me, especially my ability to think conceptually. It just kind of has blocked that a little bit. So I work on art that I've got started, that I know where I'm going with, that kind of a thing. But how do you expand that to new ideas? It's kind of difficult when the world outside is really struggling and not knowing what to tell you. I mean, nobody really is got the right answers here, because half a dozen one, 6 of another. So we just have to use our common sense and work to stay safe as best we can.
Right. Thank you for sharing your ideas and explaining like how you have felt successful with your artwork, and that you want to share that with other people even during this time. Like it's beautiful to hear.
You're welcome. That's important. I want to hear that from other people. I want to hear the same. How do we in this time, we know all the difficult struggle. We need hope. We need possibilities. We need to know that when I scribble on a paper, that it's not going to be judged. I want to share that with you so that you can scribble on paper and don't worry about it. Right?
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything about the world and the virus, but you can scribble your crap, you can scribble it out on paper.
Yeah.
Even with just a scrap piece of paper and a pencil. You don't have to be well equipped in the studio. You just need to be putting your thoughts out some way, whether you write, whether you dance, whether you're music, whether you're painting, drawing, crochet, cross stitch, doesn't matter, quilting. I think that we can visit again. I can show you more art. I think the most important thing is that people need to stop worrying about if they're expressing themselves visually is takes you to a place that's very vulnerable feeling. It is not something that's easily shared with other people. Mm-hmm. I encourage people to have a sketchbook. You don't have to ever share your art, but you do need to have a way of expressing yourself. And especially people who are isolated or maybe even people who have a difficulty with, maybe they're impaired somehow, and they need to be able to, how do I express what I feel? Art is an extremely important way of helping to get that out. You don't have to show anybody. You don't have to share anything. Draw little doodles. That's a wonderful way of getting out. It also stretches your mind in other ways. So when you're sitting at your desk and you're doing your job, art gives you the ability to kind of go down a different path that maybe you're always an ABC person, and maybe by using art you can kind of expand those ideas a little bit and maybe come up with something new for your business or for the job that you're doing. Art can make things better in your world, no matter what I don't care if you're digging ditch. You can dig the most beautiful ditch in the world. You can, shovel sidewalks and still build snowmans along the way. I mean, there's lots of things you can do in your daily routine that just a little art makes the whole thing so much better. Anything that I can pass along just to encourage people to just make the art and stop judging. And start judging, maybe 20 years from when you first start. I mean, whatever, don't judge, just do. Just make something with, whatever interests you, and that's an important part. I tell my students all the time, push back. Tell me, I don't want it to go my way. What you have and your gift and your ability and skills could be very different than mine. Yuck, yum. It's not a good, bad thing. It's just a choice that we made. And my students will do that. Kim, I don't want to change that. I think I like it just the way it is. Well, all right then. That works for you. That's the most important part. How does this body of work, the storyteller, because you're a storyteller, how are you as a storyteller going to strengthen and really create that goosebumpy feeling for people? Only you can do that. And you can do that by understanding how to put these elements and these pieces together to make a visual story, as well as something that's interesting to people, as well as educational to people. And you might be surprised. I've sold a lot of work. That's very surprising. People like my work because it's like, I remember a story once. I'll share with you a story. Okay. I was at an art fair in Krasl. I was at, and that's in St. Joseph, Michigan. It's one of the summer art fairs that I used to do on the streets. I had my tent and all my stuff. And then there was this gentleman that came in my booth, and he looked at my art, and he was with two teenage children, young teenage, 10, 12, 14, somewhere in there, just a boy and a girl, kind of young. They were quiet. He came back to my booth during that day 2 other times and looked around and then left. And then his children came back once and looked around. Then he came back and he asked me about one of my paintings. He said, one of my collages. He said, this collage is interesting. And I said, well, let me share with you about this collage. Now, sometimes sharing with people about your artwork is really the wrong thing to do. Okay. People have their own stories. They have their own, kind of ideas or concepts about your art. And if you share what you've done and how you've created it, you could turn them off like a switch. It's like, so you have to be very careful, because I have turned people off just by being excited about them liking my art and sharing it with my story, instead of, and then they can't see their story fitting anymore. So it's a lesson to be learned. So I said, okay, are you sure you want to hear about it? And share with me about this piece. Well, this piece had it was a landscape. It was tall and narrow, was a tall and narrow piece. It had a tree in the center, and it was a broken tree. It was like broke off, rotted tree. It was all dried out, and then its roots were down in a swamp. And then on the side of it, it had a piece that was green, like it was like a run along the side. And in the background, it was bright colors, like the sun was coming up or the sun was there, but it was beautiful and soft and pretty and just life. You could see life, and it was a landscape. But yet in the front, it was a broken tree that kind of looked humanistic, but it was kind of, and I said to him, I said, the title of the piece is, It's Just for Today. I said, the piece is called It's Just for Today. And then I said, if you can believe, you can get through this. And it's talking about when something difficult happens, there's always support. And so the tree on the side was the support because it was life. It was a newer tree, although there wasn't very much of it showing. It was there. The tree had some humanistic type characters, but the colors behind it, and I said, it's in a landscape. And I said, there's always in this series of my trees, and there's always a tomorrow. There's always another day because it doesn't end here. This is always tomorrow. It's always another day. And he looks at it and he talks it over with me about the price and stuff and that. And he decides, then he comes back and yeah, he left again. And then he comes back and he said, okay, I'm going to take that piece. Wow. And I said, okay. So it was a very, again, this is something where you think I was just expressing myself, thinking like, man, today's a crappy day. It's like a broken tree type thing, but I'm going to get through this. I'm just going to get through this. And I've got support here. I know it's just for today. If you can believe, you'll get through this. It's just for today. And so I can move on. So the message was powerful. So I'm wrapping it up and I'm giving it to him. And he says to me, my wife died. Yeah. And he said, I got tears in my eyes and I got goosebumps on my arm. And he said, I needed this piece. Powerful. Oh my gosh. I said, his message was my artwork affected him that much. I don't care if I ever sell another piece again. What can I say?
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. When someone says to you that your artwork affects them that much, here, I'm like my mother, I'm crying. But it's an emotional thing. It is such a powerful thing when my message actually connected with him. It actually said to him, I said, well, this is your piece. This piece was meant for you. And I said, thank you for sharing. And so that's what I'm looking for in my art. I want pieces to connect. I don't think I'll ever have another experience like that where I thanked him for sharing with me. I tried to be strong and not break down in tears. I've never experienced that before, probably won't again, but that's what my expressing in my art is about. Yeah. It's about getting all this out of me and putting it in there so that others can feel that too. And so when that happens, when people walk up to your artwork and they go, oh man, a person walked in my booth and she said, I've been chasing you. She said, oh my goodness, I was packing up. It was time to go home. This woman walked in my booth. She said, I saw you at this other show. She said, there's the piece. I want that piece. I'm a cancer survivor. And she said, you told me about that because in my art piece, my trees going straight up are seeking something greater than self. The roots are ancestry, our history. They keep us, they're a foundation. They nurture us. They're our ancestry, our history, but roots can also bind us. They can keep us stuck. And this piece was called, and had two paths in it, and it had shadows from the trees on the ground, and it was called No Path Without Risks.
Mm.
And she said, I'm a cancer survivor, and this piece just talked to me. And she took that piece. And it was 15 minutes after the closing of the show. I thought, and she said, I couldn't believe I was walking out to go home, and there you are, and I saw you at another show.
Wow.
So that's, when I hear stories like that, it's just, that's what gives me inspiration and fire to just create more art, and so that people can kind of connect to it. So people who don't know me love my artwork, and it's like, it's just an inspiration to keep going. And that's what fires me, even when with times like these last 10 weeks or that we've been stuck at home here. Just an inspiration and such. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate hearing your stories, but like specifically those ones where your visual story affected like these buyers. Like they before you even articulated your story, they clearly were already identifying with something in that image, and
that's what's
beautiful.
It is, and it's such a powerful thing. And it's like you think about it and you go, how did I express that in there? And one of the things that I wanted, and I share this with my students too, it's not something you do as an intent. It's something that it happens because you're doing it. It's not an intentful thing that you're doing. You're just being passionate about creating your art, and it's something that happens because of how you're expressing and building that art. Some of my newer students, they'll go, oh, I got to keep working on this. And I'm going, no, you can't see the forest for the trees. That's amazing, beautiful, just like it is. And I would encourage you to, step back, give it some time. But it's if you're looking to see if there's a magic in this, no. It's something that it's in each and every one of us that we have to just do the work. It'll come out. It'll come out because it's a natural part of who you are and how you're expressing yourself. And it's something that I've had to work at. I know if you ask some of my childhood friends, they would tell you that, oh, she was probably she was creative when she was little. I would say no, I struggled greatly. Like I said, I struggled greatly. But this is something that kind of connected with me in a way that I keep working at it, and I keep doing it, and I keep working at it, and I take a structure and I build upon it, and I expand it, and I try new ideas, and I talk to people, and and then I'm isolating my studio. My first collages, kid you not, I made 10 of them, little tiny pieces, 10 of them. I was afraid to show my art friends because it was such a different direction. I didn't know if they were good. Didn't know if people would like them. I was unsure. And then the next thing you know, my friends are just like smacking me across the head. Kim, are you serious? It's like, no, I have no clue if my artwork is good or bad. I just don't look at my artwork that way. I don't know what people's reaction will be. It is very vulnerable feeling. It is. It's hard for me, even after doing this all these years, to go out to a show, unveil my art, and and have people look at my artwork. I do it anyway. Right? I do it anyway. I got to get this out for some reason, and people are kind of. I had one student. He come up and looked at me, and he said, after the class was over, he said, when I first looked at you and I came to this class, he said, I almost left. He thought, you aren't going to teach me anything. Just by looking at you, I knew I wasn't going to learn. And this was an older man. It was a European man too, which really surprised me because most European people are way more open than what we are. But he said to me, he said, you blew me away. He said, I was very surprised. You have a lot of skills and knowledge, and you're very good at this. And he said, but just looking at you, I was going to walk out of the class. I thought, wow, people, okay. And that kind of helped me separate me from my art. so that I can say my art speaks for itself. My art speaks for itself, because our world and our society is very judgmental on whatever it is. So I think that's why I feel my art. And like I said, I've gone to school and I've got educated, and I've done workshops and classes, and I learn every day. I read about art, I watch art, so it's something that I'm learning every day. I'm trying something new. I'm open, and I hope that I can encourage others to do the same as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Kim. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your stories. It's beautiful. I look forward to hearing more. Wonderful.
Well, you're welcome. You can come and talk to me anytime. Like I said, hopefully soon we'll be able to get together personally.
Yeah.
I will send you some, I don't know how many photographs you want, but I can send you some images and show you. In fact, I'll look for the image that I can show you, the one with the tree, the broken tree, just for today.
Wasn't it great to hear Kim share her story and see some of her artwork? I look forward to connecting with her again and actually seeing her create some of her beautiful pieces. I liked hearing what she had to say about why she creates art. What encouraged you through her story? For me, one thing that was helpful was to hear how she uses art to help her express herself, but also deal with stress in her life. And there's a lot of us who've been dealing with stress lately, right? So art's a beautiful way to express our own feelings and emotions and help other people as well. And Kim chooses to encourage people to create art and help them find a way to find themselves successful. She enjoys being successful in art, and she wants other people to be successful too. If you'd like to hear more about Kim and see more of her artwork, we'll have other videos in the future. You can also check out our website. I hope you enjoy watching future videos with Kim. We look forward to seeing you again soon. You are a masterpiece. Have a great day. Bye.
hope I'm looking at the camera enough.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.